Oops. Okay, hi everybody. It's Carla from Eaton, Colorado. As you may or may not know, I've been stitching up a storm with all the Halloween stuff, and you can see in the background, this morning I got all my pumpkins and my Halloween stuff. There's another pumpkin. There's yet another pumpkin. I love glass pumpkins. In case you didn't notice. So this is where I'm at. I posted this on Instagram this morning showing where I was at. I got these done and I got to finish the moon and do the 4 trees, and then it'll be done. And then I can finish the Wacky Witches and Stitches from last year's stitch along that for some reason I just didn't finish. And one moment, please. Please excuse me. Okay. So I actually have quite a bit to talk about today, so it might be a little bit longer than a 15-minute video to catch you up. Because money is becoming an issue, I'm not used to budgeting myself so tightly, you know. I had a really good job in Alaska that paid pretty decently, so you know, yeah, sometimes I would overextend myself, but you know, it would take like 2 paychecks to, you know, catch myself up and I'd be fine. And now I'm finding it kind of hard. It's this weird transition where I have to control myself. I think the downsizing really helped with that mentality, but I still, oh gosh, I still want all the things. So that's been an issue, and dealing with some of the problems that do arise by living the RV life, you know, or the tiny house life. I can't even call this place a tiny house. It is too big, at least in my mind. What constitutes a tiny house for some, this might be it, but for others who actually live in their vans or live in an actual tiny house, you know, they might just laugh at me and say, "You live in a mansion," which I kind of feel like I do. I mean, honestly, this place is the perfect size. I don't know any better way to explain it. I mean, sure, I'm just now starting to figure out, you know, what I'm going to need to put my patterns away. They're in baskets right now, which really bothers me. You know, ugh, I finally found the metal thing that I had that I was putting my patterns on, and I put all my needle minders on. I'll grab that real quick so you can see it. I did this the other day when one of my boys came in and I was doing crafts. So he sat and talked to me while I did this. And when I talk about my boys, I have my son here, of course, and then one of his roommates is a guy that he's known since I think they were 14 or 15 years old, so it's been a really long time for them. They're friends forever. And then a more recent addition, oh, he's probably known him a couple of years now. So I just call them my boys because they're all the same age and they're all just as dorky and fit right in, so why not? So they come out and they visit me one at a time, you know. And anyway, so I put all my minders on here. Look at that. Yeah. Now, some of these, like, let me get in close. This one right here, this was something I found at Hobby Lobby the other day. Okay, my second trip to Hobby Lobby. It's like a blown up version of the Joann's in Juneau. And Christine, if you're watching this, oh my gosh, you need to go to a Hobby Lobby and you'll see what I mean. You'll know exactly what I mean. It's like, I want to say it's probably 3 times bigger than the Joann's in Juneau. There's so much stuff. And anyway, so I found this, and let's see, I found, this is from Joann's in Juneau, but I put a magnet on it. This right here, I found that at Joann's in Juneau, and I put a magnet on it. So, you know, I was doing the thing. But I've got all the things on here now, so I can actually have my sparkle on the wall above the chair that I stitch in. And I just, oh my gosh. Yeah, between, what is it? Gina's Unique Boutique on Etsy and Denkai on Etsy. A lot of you know her on Instagram as well. Those two ladies hooked me up. And let's not forget Jody from Unconventional Cross Stitch. I think out of all of those, the most needle minders I have are from Jody. So that, and then the rest are like odds and ends that I've made. So yeah, it's been, I think I have enough now. Maybe. I guess we'll see about that, won't we? So anywho, I forgot my train of thought. Oh yeah, so the spending thing. So I've been watching a couple stitchers, and I apologize, I don't remember their names. It's on Instagram. They have been stitching Ophelia's Pearl and Siren Song Mermaid by Nora Corbett. And I finally said, I need those. And so I hunted around to find the least expensive one that I could get. And it ended up at 123 Stitch. Of course, they're always good for a good deal. And so I ended up with, here's Siren Song. I know you all have seen these. And then, of course, Ophelia's Pearl. And honestly, you know why I have these? If you look at them, you're like, well, they're kind of the same. It's the orange and the red and the yellow combined. They make me happy. And those are my favorite color combinations, I think. Obviously, I mean, look around. I get so excited about Halloween and fall in general because, you know, orange, yellow, and red. So I got those, and no regrets, although the cost of those together could have filled one of my propane tanks, but we're not going to talk about that right now. What we're going to talk about is, you remember when I lost my mind at the beginning of the year? When was that? It was during last winter. I think it was last winter. It might have been going on towards spring, but I bought all that fabric and stuff. Well, it turns out, what is this? This is called Tropical, and it's a fabric by Stephanie. It's actually one of the opalescent fabrics. You can't really, oh wait, yeah you can. But that's what these are going to go on. Ta-da, look at that. So I might be doing it wrong by putting these patterns on a fabric like this, where the colors are kind of similar, but that's what I want. So we'll try it and see. Got all the beads and everything already, so there's some money I didn't have to spend. So then, so while I'm at my second trip to Hobby Lobby, where I actually got to spend about 4 hours, I want to say 4 hours. It must have been, because I got there right when they opened at 10. And I didn't realize there are people waiting at the door, and it doesn't matter which one you go to. I went to the one in Fort Collins because I had to be over there anyway. And I just wanted all the things. I'm like, whoa, girl, you gotta slow down. You only came here for 3 skeins of, floss. But no, I needed the things. And so I got to thinking, I just got a whole dish set with the poppies on it. And stop glaring on my cup. There we go. And if you'll remember, back in, even I don't remember, so how do I expect you to remember? I don't expect you to remember. But let me refresh your memory. I was having a conversation with Jody from Unconventional Cross Stitch, because she's my girl. And you need to watch her YouTube. You don't, I'm telling you what to do. I shouldn't, but do what you want to do, but you really should watch her Floss Tube videos. She is so funny and raw and honest, and she is herself, and you get to know her right away. I mean, she was a little nervous at first, like we all were, but she got over that. She just likes talking for a minute or two. Her videos are really short, but generally speaking, though, she just tells you a story or two, or maybe a story within a story real quick, and then she moves on. I really love her videos, and I've kind of watched them more than once. Anyway, so we were talking about an issue I was having at work back in 2016. I was just being punished so hard. And I'm sure some of you have had that, where you go to work and just the fact that you're breathing just drives someone insane. And I don't know, it just seems to me now, after the fact, after some other things had happened, apparently I was the ugly redheaded stepchild, and I was being punished, not because I was me, but because I was there and I could be. I was the chosen one. So, having this conversation with Jody about this person, she says to me, well, it sounds like she has tall poppy syndrome. And I never heard of that because I lived in Alaska. We're kind of, I don't know, off the beaten path there. So we don't hear about all the things, but as I'm learning, even being down here again in the lower 48, I don't hear all the things anyway, because I don't listen to the news. It's depressing. So, so she came up with a pattern for me, which I really appreciate. I'm so sorry. It's kind of warm out today, which is weird for me because it's October. What is today? The 7th? 8th. Today's Sunday. It's the 8th. of October, and it did get kind of cold there for a while, and at night it gets cold, which is why this morning I got up and I'm wondering, why is it so cold in here? And I went out and checked my propane, and both my tanks are empty, so had to go get propane. That's all right. I drove up just in time. I mean, there was a line, and so I got in the line, and the guy filled me up, and I came home, and it only took 10 minutes, I think. So that's bonus. Anyway, so Jody made me this pattern. I know I've shown it to you all before, but it is for sale in her Etsy shop, and I'll put all the links down below so you can watch her Floss Tube and go to her page, because even though some of the patterns she has might not be for everyone, they're actually awesome. I mean, if you look at it from a different standpoint and not from the, oh my gosh, that's not traditional, that's the point. Macabre, horror, fantasy. She's got some really nice nature ones that are different. They're like fractals, fractal animals. But it's funny, I'm still leaning towards the more macabre ones as ones that I still want to stitch. So it's funny to me because I never thought of myself as, I mean, I like weird monsters. Those ones thrill me to no end. But anyway, so she did the proud to be a tall poppy, because I am. If you go into work every day, or you're going to do something, some kind of chore or anything, you want to give your best. If you're a gardener, don't you want to go out in your garden and make the most beautiful garden that you can imagine? And there's always going to be that potty mouth standing there just, I wouldn't do that. I'm like, I wouldn't put those flowers next to those flowers. Well, that's someone who's obviously jealous of what you have achieved, and that's what being a tall poppy is all about, is being someone who is naturally graceful. And I'm not saying that I totally am, but I lack tact. It's just a fact. All that rhymed, that's just horrible. Okay, so stop. Anyway, this one means a lot to me. And if you're someone who goes out every day and maximum effort, 100%, you're all in, and you do the best that you can, and other people are telling you, well, that you make it look so easy, and you're like, well, it wasn't. I came in and did what I was supposed to do to the best of my ability, then you'd be a tall poppy. The 100% people, they're a tall poppy. And that would be me and my dishes. So I kind of hooked onto that, and I've always liked poppies anyway, and I always liked the whole UK thing about World War II with the poppies and everything. I really like that. And I don't like the reason behind it, but I like the poppies. Poppies are pretty. So she made that, and it's so funny because my youngest brother's mother sent me this Just Cross Stitch magazine shortly after I had talked about this the first time, and she just sent me the magazine because it had the poppy in it. Of course, I've got the poppy. Yay! So I'm going to stitch this one up as well. And then I just happened to be walking along. I believe, I don't even remember where I got this. Maybe, no, wait, she sent this to me as well. It's the Dimensions Poppy. Isn't that lovely? So now I've got my proud to be, my giant poppy, and then a little Dimensions kit with poppies in it. Why is it so glary? There we go. So back to the Hobby Lobby. I got it in my head. I'm like, you know, I don't have any silk flowers that have poppies on it, because I have this, it's like this long vine of silk leaves, like, I think it's like an ivy. It's made of ivy silk leaves, and then I just get these silk flowers and I poke them in there, and it looks really pretty every time I do it. And I thought, I don't have any poppies to match my dishes or the pictures. I ended up finding these guys, my poppies. You know what I found though? In the Hobby Lobby, they had this wreath that had like the yellow and the more orange, but that was the only multicolored thing with poppies on it that I could find. I didn't want the wreath, I just wanted the flowers. And the only flowers they had were the standard regular old poppies. So I got these. This was expensive. I will slap myself. If they have yellow or the more orangey ones, I will do those, even though they're expensive, because I want them to go in with my decor. So I have like a little splash of poppy in here. So there's that. And then I'm wandering over and I hit the fabric section. And I do apologize, because right now I can't figure out what I did with the fabric. I know I have it, I've seen it, but I didn't want to dig through 6 boxes. It's so lazy, because I just pulled out all my Halloween stuff, and that was 4 boxes. But do you remember when I was talking about the quilt for Joe, and I held up that horrible fabric, the one with the deer on it and the acorns, and anyway, that fabric is so horrible. I'm just going to use that as a backing, because guess what I found? Bam! It smells good. It smells new. I found this beautiful leaves and acorn, and it's going to go perfectly with the other fabrics that are going to make up the squares in the center part. And then of course I got this matching brown for the binding, and potentially if I need it for, you know, any other part of the quilt, I will put it in there. But yeah, bam. And I wanted to show them all to you today, but like I said, I just don't know where that fabric is right now. I need to find it, because it took me a long time to put that all together, because I'm just terrible with colors. So today I'm going to be doing a little decorating with my pumpkins and ironing my tablecloths and stuff. As you can see, it's all piled over there. I know there's another box of Halloween stuff out there. I'm just not sure which side of my basement it's on. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to go look for it, which is sad. But here's an old thing I did. Oh, did you see that? These patterns are from Happy Stitches for You, and I just love the black cat, but yeah, it's my little hanging thing. So it's kind of heavy, actually. Could probably hurt someone with it. I don't know. I wouldn't want to do it. maybe I would. I have two brothers, they can take it. So, gosh, I don't even know what else. In case you're wondering about the tiny house videos, I do have a bunch of little snippets that I got to put together. Maybe I'll do that today and then upload that later as well. But yeah, still excited. Trying not to think about the Muka pattern. It is for sale right now in Ashley's Make It Pink on Etsy. I'll put that link down below in case you're still thinking, well, do I wanna not? I think you do. I really do. Anyway, oh, that's something else. Oh my gosh. So hold on. Gotta get this and this. See, this is the nice thing about having such a tiny place, is I can walk around and still talk to you while you look at my little world here. So I figured out this is the best place to sit because I've got light coming on me here, and there's not so much light coming in right there where the sun's shining in right now. So I've been making, isn't that cool? Oh my gosh, look at that. This is kind of big for a washcloth, so I figured I'd use it as a drying hand towel. And you'll see why. You're like, well, isn't that kind of small? It kind of is, but I'll explain here in a moment. So I got this cone so I can make new washcloths, because the ones that my friend Melinda made me are, well, I just bleached them. This used to be this color green. They were looking kind of grungy, and I have to tell you though, when you make washcloths out of the cotton, what is it called? Like peaches and cream, or sugar and spice, I think. It's peaches and cream. But you get that wad of cotton and you make your own washcloths. These dang things last forever. I mean, and because you use a seed stitch to stitch them, they're actually better than the scrubby pads that scrub the skin off your fingers. No, that's no good. Look at that. Ah, that's my osteoarthritis. You can see. Yeah, my fingers are going crooked. Yeah, like here, this is Anyway, thought I'd share that. Anyway, so Melinda had given me this basket full of washcloths that she had stitched herself, and I love the washcloths. I'm going to keep them, of course, but they need to be a little newer now. And so I'm going to be making these. But the reason why I got this cone, the incredible cone, is I'm going to make a whole bunch of them because I want to use the crochet borders. I got 2 books because I just love Edie Ekman. Sorry, Berkman is a girl in Russia. But yeah, look at those borders. So I figured if I made a whole bunch of washcloths, of course this is 139 patterns and this one is 150. I don't think I'll be making that many unless I start making gifts, which is possible. So I'm going to be testing out the borders on these washcloths, and I figured that's the best way to do it. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm doing with this. And this is slow going because I have to get my stitching done, because if I don't, I'm not going to make my goal for the year end, because everybody needs goals. Goals are important. And I'm finding that now that I'm not working all the time, and there we go. And I literally have no responsibilities right now other than the propane. Yeah, it's weird. I did go to a headhunter the other day, and a recruiter. It's like a temp office, but they also do direct hires through their office and everything. So I went there. I'm waiting for my background check. They said that takes about a week, but there are 2 potential jobs I should be getting, but one is for Saturday and Sunday or weekends, and then there's another one that's 2 specific days in October, which one is Halloween. So, yeah, they're just little jobs, nothing grand. I mean, it'll pay for the propane and maybe my phone. I just feel really weird, actually being free and having all this time to do the things that I've been imagining I want to be doing. So that's what I've been doing. That's what I'm up to. Just stitching like a mad woman and doing my chores. I have chores. It's not like housework. This does not feel like housework, You take your little sweeper. I have a little Dyson. It's a chargeable. Sweep, sweep, sweep. It takes me 5 seconds to vacuum the carpet. And then I run it across the linoleum. And that's done. A few minutes to do the dishes. Maybe I'll make my bed. I mean, the boys are the only ones who come over, so I don't really have to worry about being house proud, even though I kind of am, So, anyway, that's the stuff I have going on. So maybe this moon, I have to tell you though, this moon is taking me the longest. I don't know why. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks. I'm getting through my 301 reading list. I haven't talked about that in a long time either. I have this 301 reading list, and I know I've talked about this before, but in case you didn't know, I kept seeing it in movies and people were yapping about it occasionally, where there's a list out there of 100 books that you should read before you die. So I thought, okay, that's really specific. So I went and looked, and there were a bunch of lists. So I went through those lists. I picked 3 of them, and I ended up removing the ones that I had already read, which was quite a few. Oh my gosh. So you're talking 3, no, it had to be 5 lists, 3 or 5. That's 300. Yeah, it had to be more than 3. Now I don't remember, but I just kind of mashed them together, removed the books that I'd already read, and then ended up with 301 books that I should read before I die. Well, when you make a list and you're like, this is what I'm going to do, you end up reading everything but that list. And so I've been going through that in Audible or audiobooks. using the overdrive a lot because now I'm Poe. So doing that, I've got a lot of them on paperback that I can read, but because I'm stitching, I need to listen to the audiobooks. And oh my gosh. Okay. So why did I go through life up until now thinking that I should never ever read Ayn Rand? Is it Ayn or Ayn? Ayn Rand, however you pronounce her name. I just don't know. I just listened to The Fountainhead, and I have a story about The Fountainhead actually. So if you haven't read it, I actually do recommend it. It was really well written, strangely enough. I mean, it may seem kind of boring in some parts, but for me it wasn't. It was just a really well written book. And I don't think I really would have cared if there was no plot because it was a good story, basically. And so when I was in 5th grade, I went to school with this boy named Henry. I'm not going to say his last name because, you know, if somebody actually knows him, it'd be funny for him to see me after all these years because he probably doesn't even remember me. It was a long time ago. A really long time ago. 42 or 43 years ago. So, yeah, that was a long time ago. Anyway, so there we were in 5th grade. His father was the principal of the junior high, but he was always really smart, very, very math. I mean, the guy was brilliant in math, so good. And there we were in 5th grade. We had a teacher who was 23 years old. She had just gotten her certificate, so now she could teach. And there she was teaching a 5th grade class of horrible children. And I have to say I was one of them. So we get, I think it's like 30 minutes a day in class to sit and read something. And he was reading, because he used to sit to my left, and he was reading The Fountainhead. Now in 5th grade, you're what, 9 or 10 years old? Something like that. It's a bit young to be reading a book like that, right? Well, I never understood what the big deal was. And if you're so smart that you're reading at college level in 5th grade, I think you can handle The Fountainhead. But that's just my opinion. I never knew what the big deal was. So while I'm sitting there listening to the audiobook as The Fountainhead's being read to me, and I'm stitching, I actually thought of Henry, and I was like, that poor kid. This book is really good. Well, then I get to the more racy part of it. But, you know, honestly, there was nothing in that book, in my mind at least, that I would consider too much for a child his age at the time. Yeah, there are some parts that are aggressive and lusty, but there wasn't any, like, you know how you read a romance novel and they're talking about, you know, the flowing river that accepted his engorged boat, you know, that sort of thing. Anyway, there was none of that. None of that was in there. So, you know, I'm listening to it and I'm like, okay, I don't understand why they were playing all these weird mind games. People are strange. They do what they want. But it still was a good story, and it was a good book, and I felt bad for Henry for getting in trouble in 5th grade for reading a good book. But small town mentality, oh, it should be burned. There's sin in that book. Yeah, there was sin in the book, but you know, it was still a really well written book, and now I'm excited to read Atlas Shrugged. I think that's going to be after this other one that I'm listening to right now, which I can't remember. I just also finished To Kill a Mockingbird, and that one, I'm still processing that one. I mean, that one, it just kind of slams me back into childhood, kind of, because of the mentality of the children. You know, you don't think you're thinking wrong because you're being raised to believe a certain thing. But anyway, I'm glad that for the most part that particular stigma that's in that book is it's slowly being wiped away, and I'm not even going to go into it because like I said, I'm still processing that one. But I thought the book To Kill a Mockingbird should have ended after the trial. You know, when they lost, that was that. Everyone had their epiphanies, and that should have been it. But no, they added a little more, the author did. And it was like a real weird. I'm still I can't talk about it right now. Okay, you know, if you want to read it, read it. You know, I do recommend for a fun read. Well, not necessarily a fun read, but intense. Would be The Fountainhead. It was good. I was actually like listening to it and not stitching. You know, it's like, what? No, no. Why did he do that? It's just obvious, you know, and I'm yelling at the audiobook, you know, that's so obvious. Oh, you people are dumb. But yeah, that's what I've been doing with a lot of my time. I do have Owen King and Stephen King's new book, Sleeping Beauties. I have that one on Audible. I used one of my precious credits on that, but I'm saving that one. You know, when I started stitching and I think I stitched Happy Halloween and Sorry We're Dead so fast because I was listening to Stephen King. It's like, for Halloween, we need to listen to Stephen King. Stitch, stitch, stitch. Those got done super fast. And then I start listening to these other books that aren't even horror related, but in a strange way they were. I mean, like To Kill a Mockingbird. I'd put that in a Halloween category because there's some horror in there that, um, yeah, I don't know. It should be read in fall, unless you're in Alabama. Any time of the year is fine. So anyway, gosh, I think that's all I have to say today. Oh, and shout out to Kim. Hi, Kim G. Most of you know her as Granny Stitches 2010 on Instagram. So she had left me a message on Instagram saying, I miss your videos. So here I've made a nice lengthy, boring one. So, gosh, gosh. Yeah, that's all I have right now. I think next time that we meet in my little shack here, I will have finished this guy, my mama and her kitties. Look at those little guys. Yee! Anyway, I will have finished that, and we'll either be working on Wacky Witches and Stitches or we'll have finished that as well. But I could tell you this right now. I think I'm done stitching Halloween this year. And uh, My friend Magical, told me that this year I will have stitched 5 Halloween pieces, and I'll show you why. I don't know if I can tip this up yet. It's probably still moist. But it's part of the October Neglected Floss Stitch Along that I'll put the link down below there. Is it going to tip? Maybe just a little bit. But I found this little weird farm tray, and I'll tip it for a second. It's still drying, but I put that in there, and I thought for funsies I would put, I know I keep leaving the camera, sorry, not sorry. So I thought once it dries, because you can see the glue in there, just so gross. I'll put my little pumpkin on there. But she made this little haunted house pattern. Oop, oop, oop. No, go flat. It's like waiting for cement to dry. Dang it. Anyway, I'll put the link below for that. And once that dries, I'll be able to, hopefully it dries by Halloween so I can hang it up. But that pattern is so adorable with the crooked chimney and everything. And yeah, I'm sure it took a little time. It's not very big, but there's a lot of stitching on it. Does that make sense? So it took me 2 days, I think. Because, you know, strangely enough, I may not have a job or anything right now, but I am busy. If I'm not cooking for the boys, I got to do my laundry, I got to fill my water tank, I got to... oh, this is filtered water, by the way. I have been spoiled for 30-something million years in Alaska with fresh, clean glacier water that's 10,000 years old. And now I am being a little punished by city water, but you can filter that, and I do. And then it tastes fine. It tastes like filtered water. Or what do you call that? The water you buy in the jugs at the store, which I haven't done in years either. Now I have bottled water. Okay, it tastes like bottled water. There you go. Colorado Sun Tea. Made this yesterday because the sun was out. Sun is out again today. That's about that. Okay, so, oh my God, I'm just babbling now. Spent a lot of time alone. All by myself. So anyway, I hope you all have a good day, and I will probably have some more books to discuss next time as well, because I'm kind of jamming through them. I overloaded myself on Overdrive. I don't know if you're familiar with Overdrive, but it's the online version of your library, your local library. So if you have a library card, you know, you just download the Overdrive app, sign in, create your account, use your library card number, and it gets you in. So I'm using mine, and I ended up checking out too many books, so I have to kind of like go through them. So they've got the ebooks or the audiobooks, so you have a choice there, and I just really appreciate the service, so helps me out. So anyway, that's all I have for today. Ooh, 49 minutes, sorry. I hope you all have a beautiful day, and gosh, until next time, keep on stitching.